Pitfall number 4 is when there's no structure. You know, it's just impossible to follow. That speaker is a little over here and a little here. They talk in circles, they zigzag, and you sit there saying, where is it going? And you walk out totally confused. Well, that's really because the speaker didn't think about flow. Now, I'm not suggesting there is one right way to put together a presentation. It's really going to depend on what your purpose is and who that audience is. But overall, you can think in terms of the old-fashioned, the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. Let's just take a look first at that introduction. Overall, there are 4 parts to the introduction. The very first is to get the attention, that grabber, that hook, that attention getter. But what you do want to avoid is, good morning, my name is, and I'm here to talk about, and I'm glad to be here. How often have you heard that one? The problem with that is, good morning, my name is, they already know who you are or they don't care. I'm here to talk about, they know that too. That's why they're sitting there. And I'm glad to be here. Guess what? They don't care that you're glad about anything. So forget that. What you need to do is have something that's going to capture their attention, break their preoccupation, and pull them in. And so that could be a real or rhetorical question. It could be a statistic. It could be a story. It's something that begins to pull them in right away. And then immediately gets into what's in it for them. See, you may be clear about the value of what you're talking about, but that doesn't mean they are. So what is in it for them? And sometimes that opening, that grabber, and the what's in it for them can be merged together. But it's pulling them in. Your source credibility is next. If they don't know who you are, you haven't been introduced, now it's time to share, because now they ought to care. There's something in it for them. And finally, the preview, letting them know what you're going to be talking about and when you will take their questions. Now, I want to tell you something. In just typical meetings, you might not need all of this, but you need something that begins to pull them in. It might be something as simple as, well, when we left off last week, we were talking about, and pull them in. Or, our goal today is. So I'm not suggesting you have to use all 4 points all the time, but I am suggesting this is a good way to get people involved in what you're talking about, because everyone's sitting in that audience with their own personal remote control. And every once in a while, they're going to put you on mute. That opening is critical. And there's something called primacy recency. People hear what they remember what they hear first and last. Well, that opening, they're already making that decision. Do I want to listen? When you finish the opening, it's now getting into the body of the presentation. And there's just so many ways to organize depending on what it is you want to accomplish. Most of them are self-explanatory. I mean, for example, if it's a chronological order, that's a time sequence. It also could be that past, present, future. That's a good way to present. Sometimes it's a cause and effect, or here's the problem and here's the solution. Here's my proposition and here's why I say it. One of my favorites is the what, so what, now what. And unfortunately, we spend a little too much time on the what. That's what you're paid for. But really focus on, so what does this information mean? And now what should we do about it? It's a very strategic approach to things. The key is pick one. Pick one that's going to be logical, and then go back to all that information you collected and begin to chunk it into parts. 3 to 5 main parts of the key idea, and then begin to support that information with not just facts and figures, but the stories, the examples, the visuals. And so what I'm going to show you is a planning sheet that's going to help you organize all this material. And you're going to see there are 3 key ideas here, and then there's supporting, and then there's a place to be writing your transitions. So ultimately you're telling a story. There is flow. The audience can follow along. Now, I talked about the intro first. I always write the body first. And the reason is then I know how I want to open the presentation. So I write the body, go back and write the intro, and then the close is very similar, where I'm restating my key ideas. Sometimes I'm going to challenge that audience. I'll look to the future. Sometimes there's a story. And whenever possible, that close is going to bookend with how I opened the presentation. So as you see that planning sheet, understand it will help you to prepare. It starts with where we talked before in Know Your Pal. And then brainstorm your ideas. Get off the grid. Go analog. Then just begin to get your information, not just facts and figures, but other things as well. And then the planning sheet will help you organize all of that in your 3 to 5 key ideas with the transitions and the opening and the close. So flow and being easy to follow is a critical factor in an effective presentation.